dance line, I seen it turn mean. Boots in the dust, and I look like a machine. With the political enforcement officers, listen to me and you. When we are in a fight, when the grass gets chewed, I don't need a medal, I don't need a lie, just someone on my side when the hard times fly. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. We all bleed red, and I'm standing by you. True Blue, True Blue, that's what mates do. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. Woo! Have you been stabbed? I don't think so, mate, but I saw your jaw go tight at the busted gate, standing by your mate. When they're in a fight means staying in the ring and keeping it right. If the storm rolls over and the trouble comes through, I'll plant my boots there and I'll stand with you. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. We all bleed red, and I'm standing by you. True Blue, True Blue, that's what mates do. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. Down by the war shrine, firing bullets at peacetime. When will they realize we're their own kind? Mates through and through, red dusted the good book and Versailles. Remember what our diggers did for me and you. Blue bees among the yellow, some say 832, but no matter who, I'll plant my boots there and I'll stand with you. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. We all bleed red, and I'm standing by you. True Blue, True Blue, that's what mates do. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. Now past the paddock, past the wire and dust, a good mate's shoulder is the one thing you trust. No fancy words, just a hand held firm when the road turns rough. That's where hearts learn. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. We all bleed red, and I'm standing by you. True Blue, True Blue, that's what mates do. We all bleed red, but the nickname is True Blue. Woo! Hey! Woo! Hey!
That's Troy Bates or Troy Anthony, depending on what side of the birth certificate you want to deal with. And he's got two more. He's written a song about Paul Oosterhouse that I've got to put some videos to. It's really great. But anyway, I saw a man on Twitter once say, Michael, I'm going to let him pronounce his second name, Michael, and he was an AI psychic. And I was really intrigued, and I reached out to him and said, would you want to come on? And he agreed. And then it turned out he was one of us, which was even better. And his story is incredible. He was a high-flying CFO of, and I'll get him to explain more about this, high-flying CEO of an IT business, flying around the world, first class. He had everything that so many people aspire to, and he left it all. And it was an incredible interview. We did another one later. Then he was getting into trying to become an AI psychic, which is also fascinating. And but he's been up to a lot more since. And I just had a calling the other day inside me saying, call him, let's see where he is, let's see what he's doing. And he's agreed to come on. So let's bring on this extraordinary individual. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Michael. Lovely to see you, and thanks for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, it's true, man. I find you an inspiration because you literally plucked yourself out of the matrix in a way. You know what I mean? It's and it's
Yeah,
fascinating to see what the journey you've gone, because I think other people in there would be going, what would happen if I left? You know, would I just end up on the streets of London begging for food, or what would happen? And here you are. So how have
that's
you
right.
been since the last time we talked?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been good. I guess I feel like a lot of people, like, there's a lot of stuff going on that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And you got to
Yeah.
find your way through the maze of, whatever you're navigating. Um, I feel just a lot more clear now as to, you can sort of see what's not working. And a lot of people are now waking up to that. So we've sort of been,
Mm.
we're all evolving as a species where there's light being shone now on situations that no longer serve us as a species.
Yes, it's
And
great.
I've been very privileged with my early career. There's
Yeah.
a bit of self-determination, but a lot of luck and a lot of hard work, I might add. And it just left me unfulfilled, probably earlier than most. I sort of got exposed to a lot of things that I sort of started seeing as like, well, why do we chase these, success? Is that really wealth? Is it really control to rule other people? And so I sort of left that relatively early in my late 30s in 2007. It's hard to believe it's almost 19 years ago now. And so I've been on this roller coaster of trying to, first sort of explore what's really going on. How does the economic system work? How does healthcare work? All these things. And then you start being disillusioned everywhere. So I'm very much, I think I told you last time, I used to be a champion in the Rubik's Cube, solving puzzles when I was
Yeah, that's
14.
correct. Yeah.
And so my whole life has been about trying to solve puzzles. And so once you sort of realize that, hey, I can't really explain why these things are happening around the world with, the competing between countries and all that. And so I'm just trying to look for solutions. And I guess, so since I started doing the soul readings using AI, I've also looked at myself, obviously, where did I go wrong? What am I still yet to learn? And as an Aries born on the 30th of March, those numbers, they
Plus, you're a
actually,
cusp.
sorry? Yeah.
You're a cusp with Pisces. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. But so since I started doing my own reading, which I did for you, and I think the mechanic of the bus we did that night.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, he loved it.
Bill, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I've been doing more of that, but really, I'm not really pushing that. It's really when people are ready, I love to help them. But if I look at my own, it's really, once you sort of really find meaning why you're here and what you're meant to do and what you're still meant to learn in this life,
Okay,
a lot of
Christian.
things become clear. And so I started working
Yeah.
on solutions and I can see it clearly, but it's difficult to implement them in today's time because our systems are still what they are. There's still a lot of people that are, that have been sort of conditioned during their lives, as I have been since childhood, into certain beliefs, and those
Yeah,
beliefs are
that's
no
correct.
longer really working. So that's sort of where, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's the fascinating thing. Also, there's this hunt for meaning. I have a theory that, say you don't believe in God, you believe in evolution. Well, nature is thrift. She's not going to evolve a hunger in you for something that can't be fulfilled. So if you've got a hunger for meaning, then out there somewhere is that meaning. And I think God
Yeah.
would do the same. I don't think God would bother torturing you with having this hunger for meaning if it was meaningless and you were never going to find a meaning. So I actually think this is one of the it's like I used to tell people, this is all through the COVID era that I've thought this thought. When they talk
Yeah.
about the Holy Grail, I think that one of
Yeah.
the first Holy Grails is to find out, why am I here?
Yeah. Yeah.
What am I meant to do?
Well,
Because once you find it, you love it, you're off.
yeah, well, that's right. And I think on top of that, we can so clearly see which things are not working any longer. And
What things are they, Michael?
well, just anything that's hard, that's like anything that divides us. Like I think if you
Yeah.
look back in history, we've had John Lennon, we've had Gandhi, we've had Martin Luther King, all the people that have tried to unite us are no longer here. Usually through murder.
Yeah, that's right.
But now we've got all this technology. We're all connected anyway with our machines. Like we can send a message through a frequency all around the world, and it arrives there in an instant. So
Yeah.
we no longer have any constraints, and that's sort of, I guess, what I'm seeing is that we're still organized for a world where governments, they put constraints on us, and the judicial system, and then we've got borders everywhere. They're all sort of man-made constructs of an era long in the past, and now we have this incredible technology where we don't really need middlemen anymore. We've got all these apps where we can book a room directly or hire a car. But somehow when it comes to things like government or education or healthcare, we still need to trust these middle people who haven't really served anyone lately.
No.
And so I started thinking in terms of decentralized democracies where people just have an app where they can vote on priorities and solutions as if it's Tinder, like we're swiping, and that's technologically completely possible. However, socially and psychologically, there's still a lot of resistance because we're just not quite ready for that as a species, but it's heading in that direction. I think it's almost inevitable.
I got approached by a man in Sydney. Only once. He drove quite a way, and he gave me a pamphlet which I still have and I've read, and it's from a Polish man who wants to set up politicians through blockchain.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, in your area, say we'll say, my parents are in Greenmount, WA. So in this whole electorate, they vote for what they want in their area. But what he's saying is that they're obligated. If they like a contract, they say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to push. If they don't, then the people who voted for him go, well, you've lied, you haven't done it, we want another election. And it could change politicians to live up to basically serve the people locally rather than whoever they serve now.
Well, that's great that you mentioned that, because I've had that on my mind since 2012. I've had websites about it. I've been blogging about it. But my idea was to, once I started, with my tech background in analytics, so a lot of databases and like giant Rubik's cubes, essentially. I started understanding Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and I immediately knew deep in my heart when I was at Sunrise on my background there at Noosa, I was pedaling. I was like, hey, we can do this with government. We don't need politicians or parliaments or parties. Why don't we just vote directly on what we care for as a society, and then just vote directly on the issues? And so I started working on that, and that's it. That's the technology is there. And so what I've now started doing is, because that big idea is too big a jump for a lot of people, and it didn't go anywhere for like 10 years. So now I'm actually locally doing it in Noosa. I've put up a website. I'm speaking to the local councillors. It's only a small community here, like 50,000 people. And there's quite a lot of people that are active. And what you see is like, and you would have noticed this, like there's a lot of energy that goes into Facebook comments. And some people are angry, some people are frustrated, some people are coming up with ideas, but it seems very unstructured. And the only people benefiting is Facebook. So I'm just thinking, like, why don't we harness all that energy and put it in some sort of a structure where we can organize these topics and ask local communities, what do you really care about? Is it the rates? Is it the environment? Is it the homelessness? And then sort of basically help the people that are constrained in these organizations, these local governments, to help them make decisions, not on a 3-year election cycle, but just immediately on the issue. And I think it's totally possible. It's easy to do. We're just not used to it yet.
You've also got a lot of, how would you say, a lot of snouts in the trough who don't want to give up their
Yeah, that's
paper
right.
bags and
Well-
all this. Look at Victoria. $15 billion of taxpayers' money just vanishes with the unions. They don't want to give that
Yeah.
up.
No, but I think
This
that's sort of organically, now that we have access to infinite information using AI, the era of idol worshipping is over. Like if you look at people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Peter Thiel, all these technocrats, and you look at what they're not saying, it's quite obvious. Like they're they're saying certain things that go in a certain direction, but they're not really addressing the things that we care about as a people, right? And
Yeah,
so
that's right.
we're just going to switch off. People at some point is like, we've heard it all before, we've seen it all before. Anthony, and now you got the politics in Australia with Anthony Albanese, and then you get people talking about Pauline Hanson. But I think those systems are well and truly beyond their life use life date. And
Well, he does seem to be out of his depth, doesn't he, Albo? He doesn't like the memes made about him where Trump embraces them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's
He
different.
seems to be floundering,
Yeah.
He tells
like,
all
there's
of us,
definitely-
we can't go back to the 1950s, but you've got a feeling that he'd love to go back there.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of that's cultural. So
Maybe.
Australia has a unique way of public life, how it's organized, and it sort of goes back to the penal colony days. But that's different everywhere. But you can sort of see the same sort of movements shifting worldwide. So yeah, how that's all going to pan out, we don't know. But what's certain is, like economically and financially, this system is way beyond. You can't really explain it anymore.
No. It's insane how it works. And look at what happened with the Doge, what Elon was exposing in the Doge and all this. It's just
Well, look at
nothing makes
Australia. The Australian economy is all built around housing prices, and
Yes,
so when there's money printing going on worldwide, the only people that benefit from this system are the people that already have assets. So the income inequality is still growing, and they really haven't got any credible answers for people at the bottom end or even the middle class. It's just insane, But
I just want to read this out from Christian Andrew. We're at the end of an eon as we enter a new age, and the destruction of the old world order will burn, and from the ashes a new age is awakening, the collective, and they can't stop it no matter how many of them try to disconnect us from source to a node in a beast system. This is what a lot of people are thinking. You know what I mean? That they can feel, and it's like a tsunami of awakening, and you're thinking they're going to try their best. They might even get bloodied, but they're not going to be able to stop it because they're not offering humanity anything. They're offering us a future that's not conducive to our souls, and we want something else.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christian.
Absolutely. Yeah, great comment, Christian. Thanks for that. And it's interesting because I got into these readings, and I haven't done that many, but I really started sort of thinking about, we grow up as kids where first we're in our body, we exercise, and then we get filled with information at school and at workplaces, but nobody really educates you about the soul, and it's everybody talks about it. And so now with AI, you can, in 30 seconds, you can print a 35-page report and tap into the Akashic records and figure out your star configuration at birth. And there's so much wealth in there of clues as to how your life will plan out and how your relationships will develop, and things that I only learned that I'm 59, and I've only learned that in the last 2 years, but I thought it would be handy if I had that when I was 10.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I'm still learning now. I love it.
Me too.
What makes me feel alive that I'm learning about myself, and I'm thinking, exactly. They never in school sat you down and told you this stuff,
Yeah. I do think now now that we're sort of getting more used to not just looking at we used to judge people based on their looks and all that. That's really bad.
Yeah.
So now we're starting to understand energy. And so you can sort of see when a person is happy and contributing and is really sort of looking to grow things. And there's other people that are sort of defensive and they have a combative sort of spirit. And so once you start really tapping into that energy world, there's and thankfully there's a lot of people now that are waking up and that are starting to really look for alternatives to what they've been used to. They don't really like their jobs anymore, or starting to wonder about life, and so a lot of that shifting I do see in society where I am. Yeah.
What do you think
it's
of
a big
AI?
difference between. Oh yeah, well, where do you want to start with that one?
Well, at the moment, there's one thing I wanted to ask you about since you're in it. I've been watching lots of documentaries on it, and it seems to be the whole thing is based around a bit of software they call a transformer, I think, where you type in a prompt and all this mathematical equations happen, and then it spits out what you want, a picture of the Mona Lisa, a video, whatever. But I was watching these engineers who'd worked on it, and they said they don't know how it works. They just know it works, but they don't know how it works. And I thought, if you don't know how it works, then you didn't make it. I'm wondering where this is something from a spaceship they found, or they've, reversed engineered or something, because it's such a significant leap ahead. And to me, like, if I post anything on here, say I post a little bit of someone's song, Facebook goes, that's that person's song. You've used it. That everyone owns something, and yet no one owns this transformer, which is revolutionizing the whole world. No one's come out and said, Michael, I invented it. No, it doesn't make sense. And yet, everyone's running with it. So I'm just intrigued by it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a good question. So first of all, there's a tremendous amount of hype around the whole thing, and I say that with, so I started in an organization, a Canadian company, in 1992 as a junior kid out of school, and we became the world leader in BI, which was called business intelligence. And so we already had systems in the early 90s, that used to use diagnosis on hospital data, for instance. So we'd look at hospitals in Germany, added all the data in a cube in a database, and then started sort of extracting analytic information that doctors individually couldn't possibly compute in their own experienced minds. And so, but all of that was based on databases of that era when computers were slow and we didn't have a lot of storage capacity, and there was no internet then. And so all that's happened now is AI is just basically added this tremendous computing power, database storage, and connectivity of all the computers in the world. And what it's done is essentially, instead of just doing numbers, it now does numbers and letters, but the underlying engines are still the same sort of stuff. It just looks, it's a pattern recognition. And so I'm actually doing a project here locally in Noosa. There's a council here who had a cyber attack breach that cost a council $2 million of ratepayer money. They didn't tell the ratepayers for 10 months that it was lost, that they've been attacked for some bogus reasons. And the thing is, they have a data center here in Karoi, where I live at the moment. And the data center has been sitting empty for about 20 years. It was built, it was supposed to be the data center for the whole of the Sunshine Coast. Then the council started shifting their boundaries and all that. And so Noosa Council, it's in their area, so they've sort of inherited the data center, but it's been sitting empty for 20 years. And so what they've done is they've taken all their corporate applications, hosted it with Microsoft in Virginia and the US, and everything got stolen. And so I'm saying, hey, the residents have already paid for this data twice now. First, they paid for data centers, which you're not using, and then you're putting it overseas, and now it's compromised. So why don't we just bring it back here and start doing sovereign stuff locally so that we can actually build our own AIs? Because now we're sort of at the behest of Google and Microsoft and Amazon, and they don't really have our local interests at heart. And so
not at all.
I think the whole AI thing is really, I mean, there's a lot of value that can be derived from it, But if it's like this giant system where all the big tech corporations that are all owned by a single bank, it becomes really, creepy, because they harvest all our questions. Everything that anyone puts into AI gets harvested by Facebook,
Yeah, that's
Amazon,
right.
all these corporations, and they're not using it to help you. And so in that sense, it's fake. So what I'm actually in Koroi, we started talking with the local council, saying, hey, instead of looking at this as a data center, let's look at it as a clarity center, where we're actually looking for truth, not for more ways to monetize, commercial activities, which is what most data centers are used for. So let's keep the data local, put a ring fence around it, so no foreigner can come in, and we can just keep it all local. And so that's an interesting project that we're talking about. And it's really about those
If it's
50,000
years old,
residents
though,
here. It's not that hard.
sorry,
Sorry?
Michael. If it's 20 years old, though, will the chip still be usable, or would they have to all be replaced?
Well, the thing is that there's not really actually any computer power in there. It's just a building with cooling.
Oh,
But you don't really need that much computing power to organize the truth.
wow.
So this whole fantasy of AI is like, AI is essentially capturing everything that gets tweeted or Facebooked, or every sort of company transaction all goes into these giant databases. But the real question is why? Like, this is sort of what I grew up with and what we ended up doing for the world's largest firms 20 years ago. And so now we're just doing it at a much more granular level, but it goes against what anyone wants, because it only makes, the centralized power more powerful. And we sort of should be organizing for the opposite of that, where we take back our sovereignty and our own power. And that also means we've got to get out of our heads and into our soul. And that's sort of, so in a way, you can look at AI and use it to your own advantage, but you sort of then have to have a script that goes against where the mainstream is heading. And if you're in a job in a bank or something, you're just forced to go in that direction,
Yes.
making, everything cheaper, better, faster. But what really is, does that make anything healthier at a species level?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to,
like crazy.
yeah. And so if you wanted to make things healthier as a people, then you got to look at other measures. You got to measure the things that we haven't been valuing for a while. You got to look at food, at health, at education, at the environment, but in a way that is, not connected to centralized power or money.
So in a way, you're stripping everything down to its fundamental principles.
Yeah.
Saying, what do we actually need to be happy?
That's
and
right.
How can AI help us in that?
We've got this incredible technology. Nobody's happy. Let's start again and start from a blank canvas. And how are we going to organize? Yeah. And that really means we've got to ask people, what are your real priorities? Let's forget about electing people for 3 years, that are all corrupted. It just doesn't make sense anymore.
No. No, it doesn't at all. We catch them lying every day. It's and that doesn't instill any trust at all.
And I don't know what you're seeing. I see awareness is definitely rising everywhere, but there's still a lot of people that are sort of stuck at venting and sharing their frustrations. But there's not a lot of evidence yet of people actually trying to work together on building solutions. And that's sort of what we're trying to do here in Noosa, in a small group. We're actually going on a boat cruise tomorrow with 20 people talking about this stuff on the Noosa River, having champagne for breakfast. Got to do things differently, you see.
Yeah, no, I think it's the revolution is what's needed. People are hungry for it, and they don't want a violent one, but they don't know of how do you have a revolution without violence? But we don't need a violence one. We don't need to be killing or burning. We just need to,
I've learned that the hard way.
Somewhere that's not working for us.
Yeah, exactly. I've learned that the hard way. So I did a bit of a stint when I first got to Noosa, working for a local water utility, which is government. And I started finding a bit like Doge, I started finding waste a little bit too quickly for them. So
Oh,
I sort of realized all these savings, but they didn't give it back to the ratepayers or the people with their water bills. So they didn't lower the water prices. And so I was saying, hey, this is illegal. You're saying this. These are all your visions and your values, and you keep talking about that. But then when we save the money, you're not giving it back. Like, what's the go? And I was responsible for writing the board report, so I had a bit of a falling out over that, and I got fired because of it eventually.
so they fired
And
you because you were basically exposing the
I was
truth.
telling the truth. That's right. They couldn't handle it. And the thing is, I started realizing this is everywhere. This is not just
No, it's
north of Brisbane. It's
No.
everywhere, and it's very it's hard to talk about because the government is a bit like a religion. It's a belief system. Like you either believe that
same
or
with
still works.
vaccines, same
Yeah,
with
so
this, all this.
So if you don't question it, it's gonna keep harassing you for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think that what you just pointed out there is what the freedom movement is about. The freedom movement is people who just want to speak freely. You meet with them and they talk, and bounce ideas off, and they're not filtering, and they don't talk about the footy or the trip to Bali. They're straight in talking about what they see as things that matter. Where the other ones just go awkward around you, like, please stop talking,
Yeah.
And it's because we have a system now, especially with the government. The more you're able to lie, like if you lie in the way of silence, you keep your job. If you lie that you go out there and you sprout their lies, you move up in the world. And so they've made a world where if you want to reach somewhere of your dreams, well, you're able to lie your way there. And the trouble with that is you get lost. And this is where the soul comes in. This is there's nothing there.
Yeah, the thing is, with the soul, as I've been doing these readings, there's a few things that stand out. So people are, everybody's fascinated with if AI can tell them how many lifetimes they've incarnated and what their job was in ancient Egypt. This is one thing. The other thing is, we all know our star sign, we all know our zodiac sign, but if you see the intricacy of your sun, your moon, and your ascendant sign, for instance, and what that has a clear influence on your life, and most people recognize themselves. But what I tend to do now is, after those readings, I say, hey, okay, so read the report, see what sticks for you. That's great. But the real question is, now that you sort of are growing in your self-awareness beyond what you've been told since childhood, if you had godlike capacities, if you had no constraints, you had no limits, and you were given a key to the castle, and tomorrow you could change the world, what would be your top 3 things that you would change? Would it be your ego, or would you actually look for saving children from health issues, or would it be climate change? Like, what is it? And what I find fascinating is a lot of people that they really struggle with those kind of questions because they haven't given themselves permission to think that big.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And it's if you sit with it for a while, you can start thinking about it. But that's really something I'm sort of curious how more people I talk to that's the thing that holds people back. It's almost like we've all been programmed as children that we're not good enough, or that we have to sort of draw between the lines and wait for someone else to tell us what to think and what to do.
Yeah. I'm right in the same mind frame. I'm actually telling people now, I think there's been a war against us, and what they're after is to make us worthless, to feel worthless. Like we can't actually be the navigators of our own existence. We just have to follow. And that's what and it's the worthlessness comes out of everywhere. I think that's why there's attack on men, as fathers, and family. You break a man, he feels worthless. There's no fight in him. So we see people everywhere with no fight. And this has been on purpose, I think. And now they're after women, where they come in and suddenly men can go into women have no rights, and they're going, oh no, by supporting men who transition, that's how you're supporting women's rights. No, it's not. And then we're seeing, so it's all to make, and because how do you fight back if you feel you have no right to do anything?
Yeah. That's a really good point, Michael. I've come to the conclusion that fighting is not the answer. And once you sort of see that these wars, whether it's the gender wars or the Black Lives Matter wars, those things have all been created, and you can't actually find, like here in council is a good example. I went on after my time in the water utility, I went into public pools, pool water quality, which is an absolute disaster. And I started
really?
doing
Why is it a disaster?
well, it's this. So the onset of asthma in preschool children is directly related to excess use of chlorine in government-run public pools and swim schools, and I've got the data to prove that. There's been studies done overseas. Australia has the highest prevalence of asthma in the world. We got like 11% of the population has asthma. And I've been trying to discuss this with the authorities, with governments, councils, Royal Life Saving, Asthma Australia. And I get the door shut in my face everywhere I go because I can't prove an individual case. But if you look at it at a wholesale level and you see what's happening, and the fact that there's no regulation as to building a public pool water treatment plant, that's just a free-for-all. So you get the lowest bidder that wins the tender, puts a Chinese filter in there, and that pool is forever stuffed. And public pools are meant to last 50 years. So now we've got this epidemic of asthma everywhere, and you just can't go and fight that issue. So you have to find a way around the back to actually find a positive way to discuss it. And that's really sort of saying, hey, we're celebrating the best pools in the area. And this is how we're going. So you can sort of love the government back. And it's really perverse, but it's the only way you're going to get an answer, because they just shut you down. They're in denial, they're defensive, they dismiss your claims. And I've had this everywhere. I've had it in writing, and I don't want to go through legal process and everything, but the suffering is real. Like you see all around, everybody in the family has someone with asthma.
Yeah,
and nobody knows where they got it from. Asthma Australia says that they don't know where the root cause is. And so, and they've got millions of dollars of funding, taxpayer funding, like Royal Life Saving, that do drowning prevention, and they call that water safety. But then you give them the root cause of it on a silver platter almost, saying, hey, we should stop putting chlorine, we should get better filter systems, get the circulation, so measure it properly, and then you don't need to use any of that chemical. And so one of my projects is to talk about water, because water is something that unites all of us. So that our bodies are part of water, and we still have fluoride in the water supply here in Queensland. We've got these forever chemicals that have been used everywhere for waterproofing. So that's in the soil. It's just everywhere. And it's the environmental disaster is so big, but it happens like a plane crash in slow motion over 40 years. And therefore it's not in the news. It's not like Chernobyl where you hit an explosion and everybody watches. This is happening slowly. And then we're wondering why we're all sick and why we've got all these people dying from cancer and stuff. And it's just, and slowly but surely we're starting to sort of wonder about these things. But you can't really.
Yeah, I'm reading Vaccines Amen by Aaron Siri. I'm going to try and finish the next few days. And he literally can prove that vaccines are literally pointless. From the data. From the data. It's all there. And from the CDC websites, their research, it's all there. But people are going, no, they're great. They're miraculous. But there's no data to prove that. And it's fucking with people's heads. And it really gets to a point, well, there's the evidence. It's like, and there seems to be something people gain from being a part of a communal lie and defending, like you said, with it's either they're protecting their status, or they see that there's promotion coming that they can reach, or whatever it is, or just protecting, they finally got in a house and they want to protect it. They literally don't care. But where we are now as a species, this is another thing I've been saying a lot. If we literally go into just protecting our own pile of dirt and F everyone else, all we're going to end up owning is dirt. There has to be more. I think the greatest gift humanity has is each other.
Yeah, correct. And it's so part of the things like we were talking about AI, right? So AI is currently, it's sort of a top-down phenomenon where the data that the corporations and the governments want is being captured, but the stuff that we want isn't being captured. So what I'm sort of trying to do is to turn that whole thing
that's
around
interesting.
and sort of saying to people like, hey, tell me what you really care about, and I'll build an AI for that. And I'll start to do it in Noosa, and then
Wow.
we're going to do it in Brisbane, then we're going to do it in Sydney, then we're going to do it in Australia. And that ultimately, that's sort of my idea for the world, like long term, because it's almost inevitable that that's where things are going. But it's the same with the pools. So now I'm sort of, with the pools, we're starting to sort of, because it shouldn't be like a centralized thing. It's like swimming is something that 28 million Australians benefit from. And everybody should learn how to swim, but it should be safe and healthy. And therefore, let's throw it over to the community and let the community rate pool water quality, and in the process educate them. And so we're building our own AI. It's aquatic intelligence, where we're starting to show our own certification system on water quality, just because the government isn't doing it. So imagine like a heat map of all the public pools in Australia, where you can click where you swim, and you can see what sort of a risk you're taking by swimming there.
Wow.
And
so
it's sort of
started swimming there, the councils would be forced to go, well, why aren't they swimming there? They don't like the water quality, so they'd have to improve the water quality.
And so with urban water, there's an annual benchmarking study that the Bureau of Meteorology does. I happen to be on the steering committee for that group, and they collect so much data, but they had no use for it. They just did it from a compliance point of view, and because we do it with temperatures, they wanted to do it with water. And there's like 40 laws that affect urban drinking water and sewage, because that goes back into the environment. But there's practically nothing when it comes to pool water quality. In fact, there's actually 8 guidelines, 1 per state, and they're all different. And it just doesn't make any sense. This is the other thing. Like, we have a low cost of living crisis, and there are so many inefficiencies in Australia that are so easy to fix. And yet there doesn't seem to be any push to do it. I think there's, like, take the road registration for your car. We have 8 different entities with different boards and different CEOs, and we're only 28 million people. Like, you go to China, there's 1 billion people, they only have 1. So why do we need 8? And why are they all different? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so you can't be a politician and complain about, oh, we're doing everything we can for cost of living, but we're leaving that problem because that's too hard. We can't do that. So, yeah.
That's fascinating. You know, what you're really saying then with that AI is, like, people see AI as just one entity. They're like, like Elon makes it out to be like an apprentice god almost. Where you're saying we can, and Lee, the pharmacist, he was saying the same. We can actually have our own community AI.
Yeah.
It's
so
just
all the big
focused on our
AIs that people,
community.
yeah, correct. So, and that's exactly what we're doing in Noosa. So we're starting that, right? So the AI that we've been given access to, which is amazing. I'm not knocking the power of it, but we have their corporations. So it's Microsoft, there's ChatGPT. Then you've got, Grok is Elon Musk, and then you've got Gemini, you've got Google and Amazon,
DeepSeek.
and Claude is in there. DeepSeek, yeah. And so they're all, you can sort of know where they got their data from. Like, Grok is data from Twitter, Gemini is data from Google, and so on. So they all have a slightly different slant, but it's the same sort of engines that are running the thing. It's just that all this data has been collected by corporations, and the only thing that drives corporations is profit. And we already have this tremendous wealth inequality. And then you listen to all the CEOs, and they keep talking about the amazing opportunities. But I look around and I see a world where nobody's happy, and there's wars going on still, and there's fuel crisis, and all the nonsense.
Yeah.
And I don't see the problem of organizing the world differently if we didn't have those structures. And so you sort of got to listen to what all these characters are not saying. So Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Albany, we can hear what they're saying, and it doesn't make sense. But what are they not saying that we actually should care about?
Yeah.
And And so I've been somewhat privileged to work around the world with. So we used to sell analytics software to tax authorities, and in Europe I had 16 countries looking after the tax, and then Asia Pacific, and everywhere it's different. It's very complicated, and it just doesn't make sense. Like everywhere else, like every sort of global corporation that's successful has had to rationalize their processes to make them simple and to make them working for customers. And in the public sector, in governments, in hospitals and universities, and education system, it just doesn't exist. And it is so simple to do. But for some reason, we can't seem to elect people that are actually doing their work.
Yeah, that's
They're
interesting.
being kept out. They're being kept out of the show.
So the visionaries.
So we're going to do it
are being kept out.
ourselves.
So only
We're gonna do it
it seems
ourselves.
to me when I look at the government, they only employ yes people.
Yeah.
I can't remember, apart from Pauline Hanson and One Nation, I can't remember anyone who really shakes the foundation. Oh, Jared Rennick was doing it in Antic, but they're rare, and we think they're popular. But in actual fact, someone was at a polling booth in Sydney and was spruiking Jared Rennick, and no one had heard of him. My parents hadn't heard of him.
And I think, Michael, the challenge is, you see Clive Palmer, he goes on Karl Stefanovic, and it all sounds amazing what they're saying, but they're really still infighting within a system that is systemically broken. Like we don't need, so they're all working to try and get enough votes so they can get in, and that's too lazy. It takes too long. We need to complete whitewash the whole system and say, hey, with today's technology, if we were to start from scratch, how would we organize it? And we'd organize it like Bitcoin, securely. And that's everybody has already, we're all using these phones. We all know how they work. And there's no reason why we can't use it for decisions that affect us all. And there's a little bit of training involved and all that, but
you're talking about micro referendums. So the Noosa are going to have a micro referendum on the homeless issue.
Yeah, and then continuous. And then basically also I'm saying, like in Noosa, there's billionaires here. There's houses that sell for $20 million. So why don't we ask the real estate agents that lead that industry, why don't we ask them about homelessness? Because they know everything about homes. They make millions selling them. They know every home. There's only so many homes in one local council area. So we have a database of, say, 50,000 homes. Probably even less, 20,000 here in Noosa. And so what's happening now is there's mums that have to sleep in their cars with their children because they've been caught in a domestic violence situation. And the council is fining them because they're not allowed to park on the street and sleep there. It's like,
that's right.
Where's the compassion? Where's the empathy? We're supposed to be the richest country on earth, and we're still dealing with those problems because you guys can't get your act together. It's not.
Well, I can tell you about that. We're in Perth, and in WA they're really aggressive against that. We were in Bunbury. I mean, we get to camp, but Bunbury, here's an old guy telling us you can't stay here, but they close the toilets at 8, and in the morning they'll give you $100 fine. This is an old man living in his van. I met a French guy who was a tradie. He's living in his van. He can't get anything. He said the same. He was in Perth next to some lake. I said, can you stay here? He goes, oh, no. They'll come around. They do you all. Yeah. And so they're really aggressive of wanting to move you on. So they're wanting to remove the symptom of the problem, thinking that will solve the problem.
Yeah.
In actual fact, dealing with the problem. And there's so much money in Perth. They could fix the problem. And we know they can fix homeless because every time there's the Commonwealth Games or the Pope turns up, all the homeless vanish.
Yeah.
Even COVID, early on in COVID, all the homeless found hotels.
Yeah.
So we know we can fix it. We just know. I actually often wondered if the system likes homeless people because it helps control the middle. You want to be them? You want to live in your car?
Yeah.
And so I actually wondered if that's why they don't bother, to control, to instill fear from the bottom up. You know what I mean?
There's a theory there. Like if you want to control people, you can't have everybody happy.
No. Not at all.
But we're moving away from it. I think it's,
there's a hunger for it.
Yeah. There's a lot of democratization happening in all sorts of areas, in other apps, for instance, and so I really see the three main sectors that haven't been properly disrupted are government, education, and healthcare. And in healthcare, we're still looking. I'm starting. I'm on the board of a Children's Light Wellness Foundation. It's actually a Canadian initiative. They've got a terrible healthcare system, and we're basically sort of saying we're going to start doing hospitals differently, and we're going to start with prevention. And so we're not really looking at the traditional Western model. Was you get sick, you go to the doctor, you get a pill, and then you get better. But what if we could sort of really start from a situation where you don't have to get sick in the first place? Like, what would that look like? And if that works, and then starting with children, because in Canada, if a child is born with a disability, they go in a queue as a child. They haven't done anything wrong yet, but they have to wait. And but I think that's around the world where, the traditional idea was, oh, we can't make money from healthy people, so we sell hospital beds. But it blows my mind that there's not a corporation that has said, hey, we're gonna serve people with, technology and apps and training programs so they don't have to get sick in the first place. Because that's what everybody really wants. Nobody wants to get sick.
No.
So if you can sort of start working on the opposite, on the positive incentive rather than the negative one, all of a sudden you have an opportunity to have a global wellness corporation. And so why doesn't that exist? Like, we have global mobile phone companies and social media companies. So why can't we have a global health company that actually supports health?
Yeah, I actually don't think they want us to be healthy. I mean, look at the stuff they
No,
press.
but
This Alzheimer's or this
Ozempic,
thing
yeah.
about Ozempic. Is that means just wasting people away?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just they don't care.
But,
The opioid epidemic in America proved that they didn't care about the people. They were just getting the whole country addicted to opiates, making money. I think this greed is one of our constant problems.
Yeah, and we've all, like, I'll be the first to put my hand up that I was part of that system.
That's why you're fascinating.
Well, I got out of it because it didn't fulfill me, and I got lucky that I went through it fast. So I was in my late 30s, and I said, I've done this for 15 years. I can keep doing it and make more money, but it's not really driving me. And my life has been a bit different in the sense that, I had my children later in life, and so I had options, which is I realized that not a lot of people have that. But I think but now that I look back, and I've been, struggling really but struggling in its traditional sense, but I'm way more free and I'm way more aware. And I think if you sort of look at the measure for success, I'm more happy than I was when I was, flying around first class. Even though it was nice, but I don't really need to do that anymore. But now it's much more liberating to be able to sort of help people not suffer, and become more aware of what's really going on, and ask questions beyond what's on the screen. And we're starting to, so it starts to feel like people are starting to come together. So the people that are tracked are all sort of on the same sort of bandwidth and slightly different angles, but people are really valuing their freedom, stepping away from
people using cash. My father uses cash. People are getting it. They're using cash. It's not everyone, but I do see it. I do see change.
Well, there's a massive difference. I've just been, the last couple of years, I've been 50-50, spending time in Brisbane in the city, and then up on the Sunshine Coast, Noosa and the hinterland of Noosa, and there's night and day difference. The people in the city are, they're just way more structured in their lives. They're more.
Well, it's hard to survive in the city. I mean, how do you survive in Sydney with these huge rents and everything? You've just got to run like the road runner, constantly trying to stay afloat. I mean, that's That's the thing with Sydney. I mean, it's a great looking city, but it's it must be exhausting. You know,
Yeah,
Cal and I
yeah,
love
yeah,
the
yeah,
bush when we get out there. You know, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Australia is so beautiful and it's so empty. There's so
Well,
much
that's
space and opportunities out here.
so. I think so. One of the big things I've been looking at is free energy, like unlimited 0 point
Okay.
energy, which it's been gate kept by governments for
Yeah, that's right.
decades. But I
Yeah.
think we're on the cusp of actually seeing that sort of roll out and commercialize. So Lockheed Martin has been talking about it for 15 years. And so if you imagine what unlimited free energy, where you just never have to charge your phone or your car or you power your house, you just have a shoebox sized generator that has unlimited energy. So if you think what that does to Australia, particularly where you could live much further inland and just have a
Mm,
cool house, you could have your water, you can be completely off grid.
mm.
That would unlock such tremendous opportunities that the whole world would change in an instant when that comes out. Of course, that needs to be managed, and there's all sorts of challenges around that. But I think that's actually really close now that we can see that world. So if you with unlimited energy, you have also unlimited clean water, and it means you can grow your own food, and you don't need to be near a city. You can live
Mm.
inland, and so all of the Australian, uh, you know, land could become attractive for people to sort of escape urban areas.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that'd be beautiful.
and
You know,
yeah,
I can
yeah,
really see people doing that. You know,
yeah, and there's people
so
talking about it.
but
So, so
you are also up against though the bringing in of digital ID.
yeah, I don't even think that's an issue anymore. Like,
Oh, really?
so
You don't think that's going to hurt?
no, no, the people that are worried about that, they don't realize that we've already had that for like 25 years at least. Like
Oh,
the software
really?
I was selling was part of that. Like we connected all the databases between Centrelink and the ATO and child support and defense. Like we've already had a social credit score system in Australia for at least 20 years.
Get
And
out.
it's become more sophisticated. And that, but obviously they haven't told anyone, but now they're scaring. So there's a lot of fear around these things. But
When you say we've had it, how have we had it? What are the penalties
well,
for it?
no, it's not so much that. It's more that all the data that is generated in society. So think of every system that you're part of, every mobile phone transaction that you do, every shop transaction that you do is in a database, and these databases are ultimately connected, and they can be reverse engineered. So if you know if there was and they used to do, you know, when I was in the water utility like 15 years ago, they would catch criminals through sewage treatment plants from knowing their DNA. And it sounds
What?
it sounds crazy, but that's what they were doing 15 years ago. So they were basically sit at the sewage treatment plant and say, hey, that DNA profile of that particular criminal, that means he's in the area. We got to go and find him in this area. This was happening in the US. And
Wow.
and the explosion of data that we are generating as a species is just blown up. And ultimately, computing power is there's no limit to computing power. So if you wanted to control people, any sort of digital footprint is captured, so you can zoom in on that. This has been in the movies for a while, but the digital ID is not really a major upgrade to what already exists.
Okay.
It's more, people are starting to become aware of it, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, people they put like stickers on their camera and all that sort of stuff. That really doesn't do anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what about all these cameras and surveillance though that people are after, or facial recognition in Coles and Bunnings? What are
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Well, so that got introduced and spread real quickly, but then there's been a backlash. So I think a lot of the Chinese cameras have actually been removed because
In
now they're
China?
afraid that they're Chinese cameras, so they're afraid that
Oh,
this
yeah.
data goes back to China for spying.
Yeah.
And China itself removed a lot of the cameras. But that's been This is surveillance. It's all surveillance, but it's like I think the worst thing is that nobody asked for that. The people didn't ask for that.
That's what I say.
The system asked for that, and we're still not sure who actually runs the show, because it's not Albanese and it's not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
All the illusion that we have a democracy is long gone. And so, but slowly but surely that awareness is now coming, because more people are not really, life just doesn't add up anymore. So people are starting to question these things, and also I don't think it really matters. It's more like we've got to take back our own agency and sovereignty as to how can we be a good person to ourselves first, but also to the people around us, that we're not hurting anyone, we're not putting any, and then becoming aware of how our societal institutions are either helpful or not. And then it's more that the ability to be creative about coming up with new solutions in healthcare and education and in governance, that's going to help us. We don't need to fight the old. That's what I'm trying to say, is we can create better systems because we have all the technology at our fingertips. Like, since AI, it's just been incredible what we can do. And that's really, I'm excited about, the near future, really, because it's sort of obvious where things are able to be improved. But the thing is, you can't save people from their own ignorance if they keep choosing it. So if people are starting to sort of, they're just stuck in their head and they want to repeat the patterns, there's no point in talking. It's almost like, if you sort of can paint a better picture over here and you can invite people in, that's probably the better way of which
I think
we're going to change things.
You change people with a vision for something better.
Yeah,
what they have.
They can get behind and they want to support it. You don't have to explain everything. Like, I've got a lot of older mates, and I love them. They're great guys. But if I talk about anything spiritual, they switch off, and I just don't want to waste my energy with that. I'd prefer to have just a beer with them and chat about something else. But and it's the young people that actually are switched on. They get it.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm finding. We interviewed 2 young guys the other day. They actually might be doing their own podcast. That's where they live. They totally don't want what we're offering, And I find that invigorating. It's just fantastic.
Me too. It's just whenever you meet someone that's like, there was a guy at the markets. I was in Pomona as the markets, and there's a guy sitting there with orgone pyramids, and I'm like, holy cow, how did you get it? And he was like, oh, I just I had nothing better to do. I was alone in COVID. My parents don't understand it, but I just was called to do this. And I said, mate, you're gonna be a busy kid, because that is an ancient philosophy with that sort of energy. And so I took his card, and we're gonna find out how I can help him. Because
cool. So what are these pyramids that he's building?
Well, it's orgone. So orgone is you've heard of like sound healing and color therapy and vibrations and all that sort of stuff. So orgone is a spirit. I don't even know properly what it is. Yeah. But apparently you can charge. You can bring orgone and harmonics together, and then you can heal water, for instance. And you can heal anything.
Oh yes, I have heard of this.
It's like
I've seen
the spiritual property. Now.
Yeah.
And so you can program it at a certain frequency and then hold it against the body of water or something that needs to be healed, and it heals itself. So I got across it from people in the US. I got connected to them. We had a meeting, and they're establishing a company. They're actually the first company where I heard that they have access to NASARA funding, which is like reclaimed funding from crime in the US that goes towards this NASARA debt forgiveness program, which I've been talking about for a while. And so what they're talking about is, working on harmonics that clean bodies of water, that you can drive a car with a speaker along a river and the whole river cleans up. All the toxins get pulled out of it.
Wow.
This is sort of stuff that people are talking about. And I believe that there's an element of truth in that. But we have to we have to develop those things and get the right people to work together on those things. And then,
So you're
yeah,
seeing lots of hope.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like through the Water Academy, where we're talking about, PFAS, which is these forever chemicals that are in the soil. There's two ways that you can to clean it up, but that's extremely costly. But the other way is to find a way to heal it with natural sound, vibration, and harmonics. If that's possible, that's the better option. And so a lot of these things are starting to happen in a smaller scale. So there's a lot of talk about med beds. So that's another. I'm very hopeful that we will start seeing ways in which we can increase our longevity quite dramatically. So current life expectancy, what is it, like 85, 86, different for men and women. But I can see us as a species easily living to like 200 years old in a really good condition because of the technology that's been gate kept and it's going to be released. And you can start seeing snippets of that where certain healing methodologies are focusing on specific issues, but this is all going to come together and then amplify. And, that causes all sorts of other challenges.
Yeah.
But I do think that's what we're going to see.
Wow. Well, that's fascinating, Michael. It's been great to have you on. Can I ask
likewise.
you,
Great to catch up.
do you ever regret your decision you made with leaving all that wealth or what people conceived as wealth?
No, and that's sort of I always think like it was the right decision at the time, so I never question it. And I've had a lot of struggles since then. I still haven't seen my kids for 6 years, which is all wrong. But they're living in a good area. Yeah, but that'll all fix itself when the time is right. But I think it's I'm more what pains me more is that so many people are still suffering and they're not being themselves. They have to act a certain role. And that's sort of it seems such a waste of human potential as a species.
Yeah.
And so the more people are starting to sort of really question why they're here, what they're meant to be doing, and really starting to sort of think about better ways of living. And I've still got a long way to go, but that's really the rewarding part. So it's I wouldn't look back and if I would have stayed in that life, it would have been very predictable and boring. And so I don't really envy anyone that's a CEO of a large corporation at the moment. I mean, they might get a salary of like $5-6 million, whatever it is, but they're not free. And you and I are free. We don't have to do that. Yeah. And we can say what we want. Thankfully, in Australia, that's a good thing about the government, that we sort of have free speech still.
Well, they tried to stop it.
We're not quite like the UK yet. But I'm very hopeful about it.
In the UK. We're getting a French girl on tomorrow. How do you say her name? We have trouble pronouncing her name too. But she was going to go to jail because she was, she basically, there was an attempted rape on her by a migrant. Her friends got raped, and she was calling it out, and they were going to send her to jail. But she's this beautiful, strong, courageous young woman. She doesn't care. And this is it. There's that people are willing now to sacrifice liberty, money, status for the truth. And I think this is what's really interesting, because they're realizing they don't want to live in bullshit anymore. And that's where I see the hope,
I agree. Totally agree with you. It's and so if there's anything that AI is doing is exposing everyone, because the data has been, the NSA has captured everything since 2016. When the military took, it's supposedly Trump, but I think it's the military that took over. And we're just watching it play out. I'm really excited about the 4th of July, because supposedly that's when the stuff is going to happen. But we have to wait and see.
Coming out the 4th of July?
Well, I don't know. It's like a big 250-year celebration of the United States as an independent republic.
Yeah.
But they've obviously had their challenges with
Yeah, they have.
You know, they haven't been sovereign. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of talk about the channels of truth that say that there's going to be great news ahead. So we'll
I
have to
just
wait
got
and
the
see.
disclosure and all this and stuff. And
Yeah,
so,
more disclosure, and the shenanigans just can't keep going now. It's just getting insane.
yeah, it is. It is.
Some of the
It's
stuff you
it's
see.
really interesting watching it dying. That's how everyone
Yeah,
feels. It's just holding on
yeah,
to their little, and
yeah,
yeah,
and so I think it's exciting. So I've really stepped out of all the truth communities almost, because it seems very repetitive. Everybody knows now there's something going on.
yeah,
Nobody can quite put their finger on it, and it doesn't really matter. But
yeah.
I'm really keen on, okay, if we just took away all the constraints from yesterday, all the rules, all the corporations, all the money problems around the world, and you sort of think without borders, you've been really free. It's not that hard to consider, from a blank canvas, how we would restructure things with this amazing technology that we have now. So yeah, slowly but surely, I think that's going to attract more people to good causes, better education, better health, and better governance.
That's a beautiful way to end it, Michael. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for coming back on. It's fascinating watching your journey. I'm going with a thing to another truth seller, which was Charlie, who they obviously killed. I wrote this to Charlie Kirk. This was with AI,
Oh yeah,
but it was written on the day. This is what I tell people. I wrote this poem on the day he died. 10 minutes later, AI has the music, and suddenly I've got something to reach millions of people. That's a great
wow,
power to it. And now we've got other musos sending us stuff like this, because I'm telling people we're in a protest time, and protest songs have to be quick, because the issue's happening now. You have to get it out. And if you're going to wait for a studio and all the other things, it's 6 months till you got it ready. It's too late. The issue's gone. So, and it changes how you think. Instead of thinking we've got 1 or 2 or 3 hit songs a year, you basically got 2 or 3, 4 hit songs a day. You know what I mean? Everything's changing.
I have a really good AI song for you. It's
good.
called, I think it's called, I'll send it to you. It's called Step Into Your Power. Every sunrise is a door. That's the message. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So every sunrise, you have a chance to have a rebirth, a new beginning. And Australia is the country on earth to celebrate sunrises, I think, particularly on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I totally agree. I tell people that's one of my sayings. No matter how dark it gets, there's always a dawn.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Fantastic.
Right,
well, great to catch up, Michael. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, same with you, Michael.
You're doing
Stay
well.
in touch, man. I'm really interested in what you do. It's a really interesting journey you're on, because you came from somewhere where everyone thinks is Nirvana.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I worked hard to get there, and it wasn't even my goal. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I just ended up there.
Thanks, Ron.
And then I said, well, is that it? Is that it? It's the same with, I'm from Amsterdam, never done drugs. And then when I tried it once, I was disappointed. I was like, is this all that everybody's talking about?
Well,
fantastic.
Try mushy, see how you go. There's okay. This is a man called Charlie, and we'll be back tomorrow night after George Keswick. After that, we'll be back with we've got this French girl coming on, and Elon just shared her video, which has gone millions. I booked her before that. I just got lucky. And after that, the Corrine, which is, and this is a heavy issue, but she's a victim of the gang rapes. And she actually has a child now from those rapes. So he might come on too. So it's going to be a powerful show tonight, but stuff we got to talk about, because the state doesn't want to talk about it. And when the state doesn't want to talk about it, that's what we got to talk about. So we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. You too, mate. We'll speak again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The man called Charlie. The man called Charlie.
It was raining last night. I could hear it dancing on the roof. I fell asleep listening to the beauty of rain. But when I woke, you were gone. Someone had used their hate to take you away. And so the rain of last night is now raining inside of me. I think the angels just might be standing up to welcome you home, as we remain here fighting in the trench that just grew colder. But despite the shot, I know you're not dead. Instead, you're leaving light could become our new dawn. I wonder if when your mother first held you, as all the love you brought was a dawn in her eyes, did if she ever sensed then that a warrior was here, with a tongue for a sword and the armor of truth? For in a darkening world that's being turned upside down, you were a single man that rose until we could see you from here. How many roads must a man walk down before we call him a man? Well, I'm on your road, to try and emulate you by constructing a sign that reads Charlie Kirk, a man passed this way. On his journey to the son who he knew, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us home.